first ballot Hall of Famer. Shefty, we begin with you. Fill us in on this.
Well, this is a situation where essentially Bill Belichick is not gaining entry as a first-time Pro Football Hall of Famer. And there are very few people who appreciate history in the National Football League more than Bill Belichick. For him to be shut out of this honor obviously has to be highly disappointing and, frankly, as everybody looks at it, quite embarrassing. How voters could get to a conclusion where a man who essentially has won 8 Super Bowls, 6 as a head coach of the Patriots, who was in charge of the winningest dynasty that we've seen in football in the free agent age, doesn't make it in his first year of eligibility is utterly ridiculous. It is completely unacceptable and inexcusable. And I think that there are a lot of voters out there that love to use this job for a platform. They get access, they get interviews, they get prestige. Well, again, if you're going to get the benefits, let's hear the names of the people who didn't vote for him and have it be explained why they didn't. Obviously, people have referred to Spygate and Deflategate, but it is hard to imagine that there wasn't a part of this, if there were as many votes to keep Bill Belichick out, that was personal. Somehow people allowed personal feelings to enter into this because Bill was not always warm and fuzzy with the media, and that's not how the vote is supposed to be conducted. The question is, does the person belong in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Yes, he does. Does he belong in the first ballot? Unquestionably. He was kept out because apparently, according to Seth Wickersham and Don Van Natta, there were people who felt that Bill Belichick should pay a penalty, pay his penance, and not be granted admission in his first year of eligibility. It makes everybody look bad. It's a poor look. The other thing about it that I think people haven't even talked about is it backs up the process 1 year. So we all know that Bill Belichick is going to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That'll be next year. So that's one less spot next year for somebody who has to wait another year. There are enough worthy people waiting. It's ridiculous to make them wait even longer.
Yeah, Adam, that's extremely well said. And again, you see it there, failed to get to 40 votes in the 50-person committee. Patrick Mahomes, I agree. He says, insane. Don't even understand how this could be possible. So how exactly is this possible? Well, Sal Paolantonio joining us now. And Sal, you are a Hall of Fame voter. You've made it very clear you voted for Bill Belichick. Take us inside the process for voting in this category for coaches, contributors, and seniors specifically.
Well, Laura, the bylaws of the Hall of Fame prevent me from really going into the nitty-gritty details of the meeting or what people said, and I won't do that. I will let other people speak for themselves. But when you look at it, it was a 2-tier voting process. And you can see there up on your screen, the first tier was the seniors, the contributor, and the coach. So you had 5 candidates, and we were asked to vote for 3 finalists. And you have to get 40 votes for induction. And whatever the reasons were, there were some voters who left Bill Belichick off that ballot. And it could have been as simple as they wanted to put somebody else in, and they figured Bill Belichick had enough votes. I didn't feel that way. I felt like, with all the things said about Bill Belichick's career, the number one thing was his accomplishments and his credentials outweighed everything else, and he should have been, as Adam said, a first ballot Hall of Famer, but apparently he was left off the ballot for some of the voters, and that's up to them. They have to make their decision. They have to defend it. It's perfectly fine. I don't want to go into the business of what other people voted, but the bottom line is he's off the ballot.
All right, interesting perspective there from Sal. You're joining us in just a little bit with some more on the Eagles OC job. We'll get to that. I think they should make these votes public, but either way, only 4 head coaches in NFL history have won at least 300 games, and only 4 coaches have at least 6 championships, Super Bowl or pre-Super Bowl era. There are only 2 coaches that have hit both milestones. Papa Bear George Halas, who was a first ballot Hall of Famer, and Bill Belichick. Look, there's just 2 on that list. When you look at this, Dan, you hear all of it. What's your reaction?
Well, my question, I don't know if Sal Pal or Shefty are still here to answer it, but
Shefty is for sure.
There's a new voting process, at least to my knowledge this year. Can't the Hall of Fame take a step back after realizing the voting process flaw and just be like, let's rectify this, let's
Adam,
fix this?
what do you think? Can they revote?
Well, they're not going to re-vote this year. The vote has been cast and the ballots are collected. And so Bill Belichick will never be a first-time entrant into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
I think that's a miss. I think that's a miss by the Hall of Fame because I know it's a new process. I would say this.
It's a big miss.
I think that the votes absolutely should be made public.
Yep.
If you're not comfortable with your vote being public, then you should not have the right to vote. I think the second thing is you have to find a way to remove the bad blood of the feelings that are attached to it. I vote for some of these NFL awards. Is there a bias that takes place? I'd be lying to everybody in saying no, where I'm a human being. So I understand that there's a bias for some of these voters, but you have to have the capability to remove the bad blood from it. I think the third thing is you should require an explanation for how you vote. And if you can't justify why you voted that certain way, then you should once again not have a vote. I think the last thing is this. It's not the committee's job to dole out the penalty. Bill Belichick already received penalties from both those situations. He had picks taken away. He had fines levied on him. So the penance was already paid. It's not your job to then serve what you think would be the proper penalty to somebody. That's not what the committee's role is.
And football is for everybody. You're not the authority of football. That's what I would say to them. If Bill Belichick is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, then there's not a single person in the history of everything that is anything. It's as simple as that. It's really a travesty because of the reverence and respect that you know that Bill Belichick has for the game of football, what he's meant to the game of football, and how much high regard he puts that in. Like, he loves the Pro Football Hall of Fame, right? I believe in the sanctity of football. I've literally dedicated my entire life to it, which is your results should speak for themselves. And clear bias, vendettas, or gatekeeping should never interfere with what is right. And this is absolutely wrong because, to your point, there is no rationale. There is no explanation for why he's not there. There was an opportunity to set a new standard for what a first ballot Hall of Famer should be. Instead, they've diminished the value, they've made it a spectacle, and they've interfered in a way that it shouldn't be interfered with, especially with somebody like Bill Belichick.
Don't forget this. If you're going to justify it because of Spygate and Deflategate, Tom Brady was on that team, Gronk was on that team, Randy Moss was on that team, Julian Edelman was on that team, Matthew Slater's on that team, Ty Law's on that team, Vinatieri's on that team, Vince Wilfork's on those teams.
Yeah, Adam.
When's the line get drawn?
Right. No, it's a good point. Adam, when it comes to like making the votes public and some of the things, like, will we ever actually see that happen here? Because the other thing I would say is you're seeing a lot of voters that did come out and say they voted for Bill Belichick as a first ballot Hall of Famer who are mad about what this looks like for the entire committee.
It's a terrible look for the committee. And there was a brief period of time early in my career that I was a voter for about 4 years. And I always remember people saying one of the qualifications for whether you were voting yes or no on a candidate was, can you write the history of the game without this person? And there is no way to write football history without Bill Belichick, which automatically makes him a Pro Football Hall of Famer. The fact that there are voters who are too self-important that didn't see it that way, that allowed their personal feelings and beliefs to get in the way of that, makes the whole Hall of Fame look completely ridiculous. Adam Vinatieri is probably going to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. In what universe, with no disrespect to Adam Vinatieri, does Adam Vinatieri belong in the Pro Football Hall of Fame before Bill Belichick? But that's the universe we're living in. It's an embarrassment and a blight on the entire process.
Yeah, Adam Vinatieri, I'm sure, would say that Bill Belichick should be in there right with him or before him. Just shocking. And by the way, only Don Shula has more wins, 347 as a head coach, than Belichick with 333. You could find so many more numbers, statistics to back this up, but I think what Adam said is most important. You can't write the history